Hey guys, it's Jake here with eTrailer. Today we've got an enclosed trailer and we're dealing with a little bit of an issue. We need to install a couple of transition plates so that it's smoother to go in and out of the trailer. We're going to be using the etrailer.com transition plates. As you can see here, we do not have the transition plates on yet, and we've got a couple issues going on here. On most enclosed trailers, you're going to have a pretty significant lip here that you have to drive over. A lot of people will put their own piano hinge on here and put a piece of plywood that's about the same thickness, and they'll just flip it down. The problem with that is that over time, if it gets wet, it can crack, and then you have to constantly be replacing that board. And a sheet of plywood is not designed to hold the same amount of weight that our transition plates are. The other issue that we're particularly having with this trailer is that one of our cables is broken, which is causing this cable to max out, and this is a huge issue because now the door is not only tall to get over, but it's hanging up about 2 to 3 inches off the ground. So these transition plates are really going to help. We are going to replace this spring system so that it folds down to the ground flat, but to be able to get stuff up into the trailer, you can see here this is a concrete coatings company. They do some painting and stuff like that too. So everything in this trailer is to take care of concrete floors. And all the wheels on all their equipment are no bigger than about 8 inches in diameter. So it's very difficult to get up onto the ramp. And then this gap in the middle here, there's a lot of people you'll see that have these enclosed trailers. What they'll do is they'll cut like a 6-inch wide, maybe 4 or 5 feet long sheet of plywood and set it in here. That is a good fix for this. The problem is if you go to lift up your door with that piece in there, it can damage the plywood or damage your sill trim here. And you don't really want to have to put that board in there every single time you want to use your trailer. So when we install these, it's really, really going to help them transition onto the ramp and then into the trailer with their equipment. To begin your installation, basically all you need to do is decide which one you're going to work with first. They're going to install pretty much the same way. The one that goes into the trailer is going to be a little bit more important of where it sits, whereas the back one, you're basically just put the ramp together or the transition plate together, and then we're going to screw it down to the floor. To put our transition plate together, it is very, very easy. Essentially what you want to do is you're going to have a series of holes here in the middle, and then your outer plates are going to be underneath the center plate. And all you have to do, the only requirement here is you want this hinge to be at least 1.5 inches on the inside of your door. So from this area here, we had it one more hole set this way, and it was about 1/2 inch from the outside. So we had to move it into the next set of holes to bolt our center plate to it. So to get it mounted up though, all you need to do is just line up this edge here of our plate, not this edge, but this edge of our plate to the edge of our plywood, and that's going to line it up perfect. Make sure that the ramp is centered, and then take your wood screws that come in your kit and drive them in. The easiest way I found to do this is get your plate attached and make sure that it's within 1.5 inches of the edge. Then mark the center of this center plate, mark the center of your ramp, line those two lines up, and then line up the edge here with the edge of your door, and then send your screws through. This does take a 10mm socket to drive them in. It does have a Phillips head on the inside, although I would highly recommend the size screws that these are. I would recommend using a 10mm. The last thing to do for our ramp, we're going to have to take our securing brackets. We're going to line them up here. We're going to put this knob in place, get it tightened down so that it holds it in place. And these are essentially just for whenever you're driving down the road. It's so that this transition plate isn't flapping and banging on the door. It just helps to keep it secured. So we're just going to take that right there. We'll put both of them on just like that, and we'll take the other screws that are included in the kit and drive these down. As you can see, with both of our turn knobs in place, this transition plate is very, very sturdy. Where that's more important is, it may not bother you with it flapping back and forth, but over time it can do wear and tear on the hinges themselves, the screws that are in there, because the transition plate's pretty heavy. But the most important thing is if you have something very valuable close to the back door, like some of our equipment here, when you hit the brakes, you don't want that transition plate smacking what's on the inside of that door every time you go to hit the brakes. And when we put our front one in place, the transition into the trailer, we ran into a couple of different things. The first thing you want to keep in mind is when you're mounting this up, you want to make sure that this breakover point right here is even with the plywood. That's how it's designed to grip onto the plywood. The other thing is that for this particular one, we were able to take it one set of notches wider, which we would have liked to do for the transition onto the ramp, but because of the cable system and stuff like that, you don't want it to get ever hung up. So this one we were able to take out a little wider. The other thing is we had our bolts are sticking down here, and because of the way that this gate and this floor don't really get along, this is significantly higher. So we popped some 5/8 holes down through our floor so that our bolts and our nuts can go down through the floor, and it's not leaving a huge gap or lip on the inside. Now for our catches for the transition plate that goes into our trailer, they're going to be slightly different in that we're not going to utilize this hole right here in the end of our plate. The plate's actually going to catch on this as we open the door. So I'll go ahead and close the door, and you'll see that our ramp, our transition plate, will actually ride on the door and catch on those lips. Now the reason why we designed it like this is so that whenever you're driving around, you don't have to worry about your ramp slamming up against anything. And the other more important reason is so that your transition plate auto deploys to where you need it to. Because if we didn't have those catches on here, the transition plate is almost always going to flip back into the stored position back there. So this really will help with the usability of this over time. Now that we've showed you how easy they are to install, we're going to talk about a couple of the details. They are expandable from 4 feet wide up to 8.5 feet wide. So they're going to fit a wide range of trailers, whether you're using them here at the back of the gate or at the front of the gate. They're also going to have a weight capacity of 1,000 pounds per ramp. Just keep in mind, you can drive things on that are heavier than 1,000 pounds because only one set of tires are going to be hitting it at a time. The ramp is going to have a sturdy steel construction. It's going to weigh about 45 pounds. So the bottom ramp here will be a little hefty to lift up and flip over, but really not too bad. If you were to use aluminum in an application like this, yes, it would make it lighter, but it would also make it weaker. So that's why we went with steel. The other thing is we're going to have a very aggressive grip tape on here to help to give not only your feet, but your equipment the grip they need in order to get in and out of your trailer smoothly. Well guys, hopefully this video helped you decide whether or not the etrailer.com trailer transition plate is right for you and your enclosed trailer.